Hello and welcome to the first episode of our AWS AI series. My name is Umang, and in this video, we will dive into the fundamental concepts and terminologies of AI, machine learning, and generative AI. So let's get started. And to start, we'll cover what artificial intelligence is, what machine learning is, types, deep learning, and then finally generative AI. And So if we start with what is artificial intelligence? So artificial intelligence, or AI for short, is basically the simulation of human intelligence processes by machines, especially computer systems. So these AI systems, they can perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. Now, what type of tasks? So there would be learning, reasoning, and problem solving skills. And some common examples of AI in our daily lives would include virtual assistants like Alexa and Siri, recommendation systems on platforms like Netflix and autonomous vehicles. And now, if we pivot to what is machine learning or AML for short, this is the subset of AI that focuses on building systems that learn from data and improve their performance over time without being explicitly programmed. Now, in essence, ML algorithms use statistical techniques to enable these machines to improve at tasks with experience. And so there are three main types of ML: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. Now, if we break down these three main types of machine learning, first with supervised learning, this approach uses labeled data to train the models, meaning that the input data is paired with the correct output. It's commonly used for, classification and regression tasks. Then we have unsupervised learning. And in this approach, the algorithm analyzes unlabeled data to find the hidden patterns or intrinsic structures. Clustering and association would be some of your typical examples of this unsupervised learning. The third type we have is reinforcement learning. Now, this type of learning involves an agent learning in order to make decisions, and it does so by performing actions in an environment to achieve the maximum cumulative reward. Now, this type of learning is often used in robotics, gaming, and navigation. For example, in AWS's use case, we have AWS Deep Research Program. Now, if we talk a little bit about the type of data, these AI models, they can be trained using different types of data specifically. We have one, structured data. Now, this type of data is highly organized and easily searchable. Like, for example, a data in spreadsheets or databases. Then we have unstructured data. Now, this type of data is not organized in a predefined manner. For example, like pictures, images, videos, and text documents. Finally, we would have a combination of both called semi-structured data. Now, like its name, this data would include both the structured and unstructured elements, like, for example, a JSON or an XML file. And then if we move on to what is deep learning, before we talk about that, we have to understand the concept of neural network. So neural network are basically a foundational concepts in deep learning. These are modeled after the human brain, okay? Modeled after the human brain so that they consist of layers of interconnected nodes or called neurons. And we have a picture showing something like that. And so deep learning is basically a subset of ML or machine learning that uses these artificial neural networks in order to model and understand complex patterns in large data sets. Now, these networks are composed of multiple layers that progressively extract higher level features from raw input. Deep learning is particularly effective in tasks such as image recognition, natural language processing, which is one of the reasons of how generative AI stem. And then we have speech recognition. So deep learning is where traditional machine learning techniques would probably fall short. Okay. And then this is where what is generative AI or Gen AI comes in. So Gen AI is basically a fascinating area of AI focused on creating new content or data that resembles human generated content. So this employs advanced neural networks and architectures like generative adversarial networks or GANs in order for it to generate realistic data. So some of the examples of generative AI would include things like deepfake videos which you see on YouTube, AI generated art, and some of the text generation models like GPT-3. And then if we talk about some of the differences between AI, ML, DL, and Gen AI. So again, to recap, artificial intelligence is the overarching field in which it involves creating machines which are capable of intelligent behavior. And then we have machine learning or AML. This is the subset of AML or AI, sorry, that focuses on building algorithms that can learn from and make predictions on data. Deep learning is where it is the further subset of ML, which uses neural network with many layers to model complex patterns in a large amount of data. And then generative AI, on the other hand, leverages this deep learning techniques in order to generate new data that is similar to existing data. Now, on the image screen, we have LLMs, which stands for large language models. And within that, we have several types like ChatGPT, we have Gemini, we have Claude by Anthropic, and we also have Llama. So we will cover these in more depth in the next future videos. Some of the common terms when it comes to AI/ML that you should be familiar with would be algorithm, which is a set of rules or the steps for solving a particular problem, and a model, which is your mathematical representation of a real world problem which it solves. And then we have a training, which is simply the process of teaching the model using the data that we give, right? And then inference would simply be, making predictions using a trained model, right? And inference is sometimes used as a verb when we want to test a prediction against a given trained model. Finally, we have a data set, which is, simply a collection of data that is used for training or evaluating models. Some of the practical examples that we would want to cover again would be for AI would be virtual assistants like Alexa and Siri to understand and respond to user commands. ML for recommendation systems, as I've said, for Netflix and Amazon, they use machine learning to suggest the content based on the user preferences. Deep learning, so for applications like image recognition, natural language processing, and speech recognition, they leverage deep learning techniques. Generative AI, again, that AI generated art, deepfake videos, these are some of the products of generative AI techniques. Now, in summary, we covered some of the fundamental concepts and terminologies of AI, machine learning, deep learning, and generative AI. In our next video, we want to dive deep into generative AI, more focusing on AWS. We want to focus on the concepts, as I've mentioned, like large language models, foundation model, the types of foundation models and large language models, tokenization, concepts like these. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, leave a comment if you have any questions or thoughts. So thank you for watching and see you in the next one.